$38. That's what the part costs. But the quote? $4,872. And when the boat owner asked why, the shop went silent. This isn't a mistake. This isn't one bad dealer. This is a system, a hidden formula that decides how much you pay before you even walk through the door. And for the first time, we're exposing it. Former service writers, independent mechanics, dealership insiders, they're finally talking. What they revealed changed everything I thought I knew about marine repair. There are rules in this industry. Rules you were never supposed to see. Today, you will. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. Because what we're about to uncover, the industry doesn't want going viral. Now I have a question for you. What's the most outrageous repair quote you've ever received? Drop the number in the comments. You might just see your story in our next investigation. This is the truth behind every invoice, and it starts now. Every industry has a system, a set of rules that governs how things get priced, how labor gets billed, and how the customer understands what they're paying for. The marine repair industry is no different. In fact, on paper, it looks remarkably fair. Here's how it's supposed to work. When your outboard needs service, the mechanic consults something called a flat-rate labor guide. These guides are published by the manufacturers themselves: Mercury, Yamaha, Suzuki, Honda, and they specify exactly how long each repair should take. A lower unit service on a Mercury 4-stroke, 2.5 hours, a power head removal on a Yamaha F-150, 4 hours, fuel injector replacement on a Suzuki DF-140, 1.8 hours. These numbers aren't guesses. They're developed by factory engineers who time each procedure under controlled conditions. The idea is simple. Multiply the labor time by the shop's hourly rate, add the parts at manufacturer's suggested retail price, and you have a transparent, defensible quote. Most certified dealerships charge somewhere between $120 and $180 per hour for labor. Some charge more. In places like South Florida or the Pacific Northwest, rates can push past $200. But the customer is supposed to understand this up front. It's posted on the wall, it's printed on the estimate, and the parts, they're supposed to be sold at MSRP, the same price you'd find on the manufacturer's website. Then there's the diagnostic fee. When you bring in an engine with an unknown problem, the shop charges you to figure out what's wrong. This is typically billed at the same hourly rate as repair labor, 1 hour minimum. It covers the time a technician spends running tests, pulling codes, and inspecting components. Once the diagnosis is complete, you receive a quote for the actual repair. If you approve it, the work begins. If you decline, you pay the diagnostic fee and leave. That's the official story. Clean, logical, professional. And almost none of it survives contact with reality. Because here's what the flat-rate guides don't tell you. They're suggestions, not rules. Dealers are under no legal obligation to follow them. A job that the manufacturer says takes 2 hours can be billed at 3 or 4 if the shop decides the work was more complex than expected. Corrosion, accessibility issues, aftermarket modifications. All of these become justifications for multiplying the published time by 1.5, sometimes 2. The parts markup is even less regulated. Some dealers sell parts at MSRP, others add 30%, and some, particularly in regions with limited competition, add 70, 80, even 150% over retail. The customer has no way of knowing unless they look up every part number themselves and compare. And then there's the diagnostic fee. In theory, it's separate from the repair. In practice, many shops roll the diagnostic labor into the repair quote, which means you're paying for the same hour twice. Once to find the problem, once to fix it. The invoice just doesn't break it down. Let's look at a real-world example. A boat owner in the Gulf Coast brought his 2018 Yamaha F200 in for a water pump impeller replacement. The dealer quoted him $1,240. He called an independent marine mechanic 30 miles away. Same job, same engine. $385. He then looked up the parts himself and found them online for $62 total. The job, according to the Yamaha service manual, takes less than an hour. 3 quotes. One job. A difference of over $1,000. The question isn't whether one of these shops is dishonest. The question is, why does the system allow this to happen in the first place? There's a phrase you'll hear in boating circles. It's spoken with a kind of resigned frustration, usually after someone's just opened an invoice they didn't expect. They call it the marine tax. The idea is simple. Anything with the word marine attached to it costs more, sometimes significantly more. And for years, boat owners have debated whether this markup reflects genuine engineering differences or something else entirely. Let's look at the numbers. A standard fuel filter for a Ford F-150 pickup truck costs about $12 at any auto parts store. The same filter, repackaged for a Mercury Outboard, sells for $38. A thermostat for a Chevrolet small block? $18. The marine equivalent, often manufactured by the same supplier using identical specifications, runs $65. Spark plugs follow the same pattern, $4 at the auto counter, $14 at the marine dealer. Now, some marine components genuinely are different. They're built to resist corrosion in saltwater environments. They carry additional certifications for ignition protection. These differences matter, and they cost money to engineer. But the gap between a $12 filter and a $38 filter isn't explained by a coating of anti-corrosion spray. It's explained by something simpler: a captive market. Boat owners can't always cross-reference part numbers. They don't have the same network of aftermarket suppliers that car owners enjoy, and when the engine is sitting on a lift at the dealership, they're not in a position to shop around. The marine tax isn't a conspiracy. It's a business model, and it's built into every quote you receive. But parts are only half the story. The real variable, the one that separates a reasonable bill from an outrageous one, is labor. Here's how labor billing actually works in most marine shops. When a technician completes a job, the invoice reflects the book time, not the actual time. If the flat rate guide says a water pump replacement takes 2 hours, you're billed for 2 hours, even if the mechanic finished in 45 minutes. Experienced technicians routinely beat the book. That's how they make money. The shop bills the customer for 2 hours, pays the mechanic for 1, and pockets the difference. This practice isn't unique to the marine industry. It exists in automotive repair as well. But in the marine world, there's an additional layer: upselling. Technicians are often trained, sometimes incentivized, to identify additional work during any teardown. A lower unit service becomes a gear lube change, a seal inspection, a prop shaft evaluation, and a zinc replacement. Each item carries its own labor charge. Each one may be legitimate. But the cumulative effect is a quote that balloons far beyond the original concern. In the industry, this is sometimes called "while we're in there" pricing. And it happens on almost every major job. One former service writer at a dealership in the Midwest described the pressure this way: "We were told to never give a quote under $500. If the job was smaller than that, find something else wrong. There's always something else." Then there's the question of warranty work. And this is where the conflict of interest becomes impossible to ignore. Manufacturers reimburse dealers for warranty repairs, but they don't reimburse at the same rate the dealer charges retail customers. A shop billing $150 per hour to the public might receive only $90 per hour from the manufacturer for the same work. The parts reimbursement follows a similar pattern. The result is predictable. Warranty repairs are less profitable than paying jobs. And when the schedule fills up, paying customers get priority. Some dealerships decline warranty work altogether. Others delay it for weeks. And some, according to boat owners across dozens of forums, simply find reasons the repair isn't covered. Let me tell you about a man in Louisiana. We'll call him David. He owns a 22-foot bay boat powered by a 2019 Yamaha F-150, A reliable, well-regarded outboard with fewer than 400 hours on the clock. One afternoon, the engine started running rough. It lost power at mid-range RPM. The check engine light came on. David took his boat to the nearest authorized Yamaha dealer. They kept it for 3 days. When they called him back, the diagnosis was grim. Internal powerhead failure. Catastrophic damage. The repair quote came in at $8,400, including labor, parts, and fluids. The service advisor recommended a full powerhead replacement and suggested David consider whether the repair was even worth it, given the age of the engine. David almost said yes. He almost scrapped a $12,000 outboard based on that single diagnosis. But something didn't sit right. The engine had been meticulously maintained. The hours were low. There was no history of overheating, no warning signs before that afternoon. So David did something most customers don't. He asked for a second opinion. He trailered the boat 40 miles to an independent marine mechanic, a man who'd worked on outboards for over 30 years. The mechanic ran his own diagnostics. He pulled the codes. He inspected the fuel system and the electrical connections. And within 15 minutes, he found the problem: a faulty sensor and a corroded ground wire. Total repair cost? $380. The engine runs perfectly to this day. David's story is not unusual. It's not even rare. Across boating forums, in Facebook groups, in marina parking lots, you'll hear versions of it repeated again and again. An alarming diagnosis, a staggering quote, and a second opinion that tells a completely different story. The question is, why don't more boat owners seek that second opinion? Part of the answer is access. Independent marine mechanics are becoming harder to find. And the ones who remain face obstacles that make competition with dealerships nearly impossible. Start with parts. Some manufacturers restrict the sale of certain components to authorized dealers only. An independent mechanic might be able to diagnose your problem in 10 minutes. But if he can't order the parts, he can't fix it. You're funneled back to the dealer whether you like it or not. Then there's diagnostic software. Modern outboards are governed by sophisticated engine control units. To read fault codes, reset service reminders, or perform advanced calibrations, you need proprietary software. Tools that cost $5,000 to $15,000 and require annual subscription fees. These tools are often licensed exclusively to dealer networks. An independent shop might have the skills. But without the software, they're working with one hand tied behind their back. And then there's the warranty threat. Dealerships frequently warn customers that repairs performed outside the authorized network will void their coverage. This claim is often exaggerated. Federal law, specifically the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, prohibits manufacturers from requiring the use of authorized service providers as a condition of warranty. But most boat owners don't know that, and the fear of losing coverage is enough to keep them in the dealer's service bay, paying dealer prices. One independent mechanic in Florida put it bluntly: "I can fix it faster and cheaper, but I can't get the parts, I can't access the codes, and I can't promise them the dealer won't blame me for the next thing that breaks." The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed, for everyone except the person paying the bill. The boat owner is left in an impossible position, locked into a network they can't escape, quoting a price they can't verify, warned against alternatives they can't trust. To understand why repair quotes look the way they do, you have to understand the business that produces them. And the marine dealership business is not what most people think it is. Here's the reality: selling boats is not particularly profitable. Margins on new boat sales typically run between 5 and 10%. On a $50,000 boat, the dealer might clear $3,000 before overhead, before sales commissions, before floor plan interest on the inventory sitting in the showroom. Used boats are even tighter. Some months, dealerships move units at a loss just to keep cash flowing. So where does the money actually come from? The service department. Industry data shows a consistent pattern. At a typical marine dealership, new and used boat sales account for roughly 55% of revenue, but only a fraction of the profit. Parts and accessories contribute another 20%, and service labor, that final 25% of revenue, often delivers 40 to 50% of the dealership's actual profit margin. The service bay keeps the lights on. It pays the salespeople. It covers the slow months when nobody's buying boats. This creates a structural pressure that shapes every quote. The service department isn't just fixing engines, it's subsidizing an entire operation, and that subsidy gets passed directly to the customer. But there's another pressure, one that's rarely discussed. The marine industry is facing a severe technician shortage. Certified marine mechanics earn, on average, less than their counterparts in automotive repair. The work is physically demanding. The environment is often harsh: heat, humidity, saltwater corrosion. Training is expensive and ongoing, and yet the pay hasn't kept pace. The result is predictable. Experienced technicians leave for better-paying industries, and new technicians are harder to recruit. Dealerships respond by increasing labor rates to compensate for reduced efficiency. Fewer skilled hands means longer job times, more mistakes, and higher costs passed to the customer. The quote you receive isn't just paying for your repair, it's paying for a labor market that's slowly collapsing. And then there's the question that hangs over all of this. Why is the marine industry allowed to operate this way when other industries are being forced to change? You've probably heard of the right to repair movement. In the automotive world, legislation is expanding access to diagnostic tools, repair manuals, and replacement parts. Independent shops can now access the same information as dealerships in a growing number of states. Farmers are fighting for the right to fix their own tractors. Smartphone users are demanding access to battery replacements and screen repairs. But the marine industry remains largely untouched. Manufacturers argue that outboard engines involve safety-critical systems, fuel delivery, ignition timing, emissions controls, that require specialized training to service properly. They claim that restricting access protects consumers from unqualified repairs. Critics see it differently. They argue that exclusivity protects profits, not boaters. That the same engines running in controlled dealer environments could be safely serviced by qualified independents, if only they were allowed access. Legislative efforts are beginning to surface. States like Massachusetts and Maine have considered bills that would extend right to repair provisions to marine equipment, but manufacturer lobbying remains strong, and for now, the walls stay up. Finally, there's the psychology. Fear of the unknown keeps boat owners from questioning quotes. Anchoring bias makes a discounted estimate feel reasonable, even when it's still inflated, and convenience capture seals the deal. Once your boat is on the lift, once the engine is torn apart, you're committed. Walking away means reassembly fees, transport costs, and starting over somewhere else. By the time you see the quote, the decision has already been made for you. And that's not an accident. It's a system designed to reduce resistance at every step. So where does this leave you? The boat owner standing at the service counter, invoice in hand, wondering if the number in front of you is fair. It leaves you with a choice. You can accept the system as it is, or you can learn to navigate it. Here's how. First, and most importantly, always get multiple quotes. This sounds obvious, but most boat owners don't do it. They bring their engine to the nearest dealer, receive a number, and either accept it or walk away frustrated. But the 30 minutes it takes to call 2 or 3 other shops, or to trailer your outboard to an independent mechanic, can save you hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. Price variation in this industry is not 10 or 20%, it's 300%. That gap is your leverage. Use it. Second, ask for the flat rate labor time. This is the single most powerful question you can ask a service advisor. If the manufacturer's guide says a job takes 2 hours, and the quote bills you for 4, you deserve to know why. Legitimate shops will show you the published time and explain any deviation. Shops that refuse to answer or claim the information is proprietary are telling you something important about how they do business. Third, demand an itemized invoice. Every quote should break down parts costs, labor hours, and diagnostic fees separately. If the numbers are bundled into a single line item, ask for clarification. You have a right to know what you're paying for. And if a shop resists transparency, that resistance is your answer. Fourth, verify warranty coverage directly with the manufacturer. Don't rely on the dealer's interpretation of what's covered. Call the manufacturer's customer service line. Reference your engine's serial number. Get the warranty terms in writing. Dealers have a financial incentive to classify repairs as non-warranty work. The manufacturer does not. Fifth, build a relationship with an independent mechanic. Even if you continue using the dealer for warranty service, independents offer perspective. They can review a dealer's diagnosis. They can tell you if a quoted repair is reasonable or inflated. And when your warranty expires, they become your first line of defense against overpaying. Sixth, learn basic diagnostics yourself. A $30 OBD code reader compatible with your Outboard can reveal fault codes before you ever visit a shop. You don't need to become a mechanic. You just need enough knowledge to ask informed questions. The difference between a customer who says, "It's running rough," and a customer who says, "I'm getting a code P0301 on cylinder 1, is the difference between being guided and being gouged. Change is coming. Slowly but visibly. Some manufacturers are beginning to open parts access to independent shops. Online communities are sharing flat-rate labor guides, diagnostic procedures, and part number cross-references that were once locked behind dealer walls. Class action lawsuits over repair. Pricing practices are beginning to surface in court dockets. The system survives because silence protects it. But boat owners are starting to talk, and the industry is listening, whether it wants to or not. This story isn't about vilifying mechanics. Most of them love what they do. They didn't design the pricing system. They just work inside it. They're caught between manufacturer demands, dealership pressures, and customers who don't understand why the bill looks the way it does. But you deserve to understand. You deserve to see the formula behind the number. Because knowledge isn't just power. On the water, it's protection. Next week, we go deeper into the 5 outboard repairs you should never pay a dealer to do, and the 1 repair you should never attempt yourself. If this video helped you see the industry differently, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And drop a comment below. What's the most surprising repair quote you've ever received? Your story might be featured in our next investigation. Until then, stay informed, stay skeptical, and we'll see you on the water.